Guys, what's going on? This is Andrew here today, and I'm finally back from vacation. I'm back at my house, and this is my first video that I'm going to be uploading slash making ever since I got back home. Florida was great, but I'm actually still happy to be back so I can catch up on videos and do some more college work until my semester's over. So I figured today would be a cool video to kind of talk about my guitars and my significance behind them, just because I've been playing guitar for most of my life. And before I get into talking about my story behind everything, I'm just going to let you know that there are a few guitars that I had a while back that I sold, including an Epiphone SG, because I would really like to get a Gibson one day, and the Epiphone was kind of just a second guitar for me when I got back into playing guitar. I had a Jaguar bass. It was a Squier still, but it was a pretty nice one until I got a different bass, which will be shown in this video. And I believe I also had a red acoustic steel string guitar that was a pretty cheap one, and I was looking to get a nylon string guitar, which will also be shown in this video. So I sold a decent amount of my gear, but let's get into the stuff that I have and the significance behind all of them. So right here is my first full-size guitar. This is an Ibanez Geo guitar. It's a nice, beautiful red, since my favorite color has always been red. Now, the reason I say first full-size is because when I was in second grade all the way till about 5th grade, I was using a battery-powered guitar that was a much smaller scale, because I'm pretty short right now, 5'3", and when I was even younger, I was much smaller, so I needed a guitar that was able to fit me. Something like this would have just been way too big on me, which is ironic because I have my Razorback back there, and that's huge on me to this day. But this was my first full-size guitar, which I got in middle school after playing guitar for a few years on and off. And this was the guitar that really got me into playing kind of like the way I play today. Because when I started off, I was just playing whatever the teacher was showing me in the book. Eventually, I got into Guitar Hero, and that got me interested in playing guitar a little bit. But I didn't get serious on playing until about the 8th grade. And this was my main guitar up until about the 10th grade, and it kind of was like my secondary guitar for the most part. But I ended up getting a Gibson SG for my 16th birthday. Not Gibson SG, an Epiphone SG. Sorry about that. I got an Epiphone SG for my birthday in the 10th grade, and that kind of became my main guitar for a while. But it ended up that the Epiphone SG was a model that was a much more budget model, so it really was not much better than this guitar. Hell, it didn't feel as good for soloing and faster stuff, so I used the Epiphone for a lot more rhythmic stuff, because it felt much better, had a much better tone in that regard. But this was a much faster playing guitar, and to this day, this is still one of my favorite feeling guitars to play speedy stuff on. But unfortunately, I'm missing a string, because I never bothered to change it, since I play my other guitars more nowadays, and I let my friend take the nut that holds the jack into place. And so I really don't have a way that I can play this through an amp at the moment. And maybe at some point I'll do that, and maybe I'll even do some upgrades on this guitar in the future. But this is my first full-size guitar, and it still means a lot to me to this day. So let's jump to my next one. Before we start talking about this bass, I'm going to kind of just go into a little bit of the past before I got this one right here. Because as I said before, I had a Epiphone SG. I also had just gotten an acoustic electric guitar and a Squier Jaguar bass that I was using as my main bass after I had a $70 bass I used to start myself off with to see if I liked the instrument. After that $70 bass, I got a Jaguar for Christmas, and I liked the bass a lot. It was a much more budget-friendly bass, and it still sounded good, and it played pretty well, and a lot of my friends at the School of Rock played my bass over their expensive ones. But there came a time where I joined the band for some time. I'm no longer in that band. I haven't been for like 2 years now, but there was a point in time where I joined the band, and all of us were guitarists. I ended up being the worst guitarist in the group, so I ended up picking up bass. That kind of happens a lot with metal bands, believe it or not. But that's basically what happened, and I figured, you know what, I'm the bass player in the band now. I'm really liking the instrument. I think I need something a little better than what I had. So I had the Squier at the time. My friend was looking to sell his bass, and we were talking about it for some time, and this ended up being the bass that he sold me, and to this day, this is an amazing playing bass, and I'll probably never get rid of this because I love the way this sounds. I love the feel of it. It's long. I believe it's even got 24 frets, so it's a nice, long, great bass. This is the Schecter Omen Extreme 4. There's also the 5 out there that you can get, but my friend had the 4, and honestly, I don't really need a 5-string. I have a 6-string bass that we'll talk about at some point, but this has been my main bass ever since the 11th grade. I'm in my second year of college now, almost third year, and this bass has been doing me great for a while. This is the bass that I used to record everything with my old band. This is the bass that I've played all of my shows with from the point that I got it to now. So it's been a great bass. I'm very happy with it, and honestly, I don't ever see myself getting rid of it just for the nostalgia factor. However, I ended up messing up one of the pickups, so there doesn't seem to be sound coming out of it, at least from what I'm hearing. The pickups were too close to the strings for my liking, and when I would pluck the strings a little bit, I would end up hitting the pickup to be a popping sound, and I tried to fix that by lowering the pickups. I ended up screwing up one of the screws. I made one of the pickups too low, and then I think I messed it up somehow. So whatever it is, I need to get it fixed up, but this is a great bass. Let's get directly to my next guitar. After having that bass pretty much being the best instrument I had, although I was in the band as a bassist, I still felt more of a guitarist, and I felt like the guitar was more the instrument that was for me. That's also one of the reasons I was looking to leave the band that I was in, because I really wanted to be a guitarist, and at one point we were even looking to find another bassist before I left, and I was going to be the rhythm guitarist, but yeah, so when I had the bass, that was basically the best quality instrument that I had, so I figured now that I had the bass, it was time to kind of upgrade my guitar as well, play something a little better than what I had, because you gotta think about it like this. My main instrument was guitar, but I had a better bass that was better than all my instruments. The two guitars I had were like $200 guitars. The Ibanez Geo, although it was a nice guitar, it still felt much cheaper, and the Epiphone SG was also a pretty cheap guitar. Nice, like I said before, but I wanted something a little higher quality, more mid-range, high-end. So I was looking around for a while at like Gibsons. I was looking at Gibson SGs, I was looking at Les Pauls, and I was really looking down the Gibson route for a while. I had no interest in Fender at the time. And my friend was talking to me, the same one that I bought the bass from, and he was like, you know, maybe you should try and get a PRS. So I really didn't know anything about PRS. I still, at this point, don't know too much about the company, but he told me, he was like, you gotta go for those guitars. They're like the best of all worlds. It's like anywhere between like Les Paul and a Strat. They have a good middle ground, and, well, honestly, I'm very happy that he told me to get it, because this is my favorite guitar out of all the ones I own. It's been my main guitar ever since I got it in the 11th grade. And although I got many other guitars after it to suit like certain purposes, like metal and all that stuff, this is still the main guitar I use for main things. I mean, I use this for stuff like songs from the 50s, some jazz songs, heavy metal, thrash metal, death metal, pretty much any genre that I've played a guitar with, I've used this at some point to play it as well, because this is just a fun guitar to mess around with. As I said before, I really like the feel of the Geo. And considering that I like the feel of that, and this is pretty similar, this just made this like my favorite feeling guitar. On top of that, it sounds great. It's honestly just a great guitar for me, and I really can't see myself, like I said before, I don't see myself selling any of the guitars I've showed you, but I really feel like I can't sell this PRS, because this was my first good guitar that I ever got, and I'm still loving it to this day. I know there's a lot of PRS haters out there, but there's also a lot of PRS lovers, and I happen to be one of those lovers. So if I ever am going to get another high-end guitar, it probably will be like a CE in the future. But I could be just saying that now and end up getting another guitar, but whatever it is, this SE is great, and I can see myself keeping this guitar forever as either a secondary guitar, or if I don't ever get a better guitar, this would be my main. I mentioned before that I had a guitar that was huge on me. Well, this is it right here. This is my Dean Razorback Dimebag signature guitar. So, what made me get this thing exactly? Because not everybody goes and looks for a signature guitar to get as like a main metal guitar. Well, what ended up happening was my friend brought his guitar to our Megadeth versus Metallica rehearsal at the School of Rock, and it was the DNA one with all the DNA stuff all over it, and the one, to quote my guitar teacher, it was basically the Gyarados of guitars. So I thought it was really freaking cool looking, and he ended up joining the band with me that I was in for some time. So I got to mess around with it a ton, and we're still friends to this day, so once in a while I'll still go over to his house and mess around with the guitar. So after playing that for some time, I told myself, I'm like, if I'm going to get a metal guitar, this has got to be the one to get, because I just love the feel. So I ended up getting this guitar for Christmas, and I'm not saying I'm disappointed, but the whole thing was, this didn't feel as nice as the one my friend had for some reason. His felt much heavier, so it felt like it was a much more high-quality guitar. This one felt a lot like lighter. Like, it's a really light guitar. Like, not even kidding, I can hold this with 2 fingers. It's a very light guitar. This is actually lighter than the heavy case I got with it. Not saying that I'm disappointed, it's just I wanted it to be a little better. And although I did tell myself I was going to eventually sell this and get another one, I can't see myself doing it just because it looks nice. And Another reason I got this guitar, other than just getting it as a metal guitar, I got really into Pantera in the time that I was waiting to get this guitar. Pantera is now, I think, my number 2 favorite band, right behind Megadeth. I love Pantera a lot. It's one of my favorite bands. I listen to all their albums. I listen to them on a daily, and they're always one of my favorite artists of the year on Spotify. So, having Dimebag's guitar just makes me feel like a complete Pantera fanboy. This was a great guitar to get, and say I don't play this guitar forever, maybe I get like arthritis or back pains. This guitar is huge on me, and I'm not growing anymore. I'm only 5'3". So if it ever gets to the point where I can't play this well, I'm still going to keep it. I'm going to put it in a display case just to show it off, because this would look beautiful in like on my wall, like it already does on this one. Okay, so after getting that Razorback, my graduation was coming around, because I was about to graduate high school. It was also my birthday. And my parents were nice enough to get me this crazy Gibson Les Paul. Yeah, this is not a Gibson Les Paul. It looks like one, but it's not. This is an ESP LTD EC258. So why is there an 8 on the end? Well, that's because this is an 8-string guitar. So I had a friend that had an 8-string. I had a friend that had a 7-string. The way that I felt is, although a 7-string is a great thing to have, and you honestly don't even need more than a 6-string in my opinion, I kind of just wanted to have an 8-string for bragging rights over a 7-string, and honestly, I think I made the right choice. It would be cool to have a 7-string. I probably will get another 7-string in the future, but I wanted that extra string just in case I ever felt like I needed it, and I feel like I made the good choice to get it. And although most of the bands that I listen to don't play with 8-string guitars, it is just a cool thing to mess around with, and honestly, I can definitely see myself using this as my guitar for writing music on my own time. I'm going to be writing some thrash metal stuff in the future once I get some time to sit down and finally get my thoughts all together, because I have riffs written, I just don't have lyrics. I play drums as well, so I would do all that, but that's beside the point. This is a very nice guitar. It's got the coil splitters right here too. I mean, it's a beautiful playing guitar, and although this is a heavy-ass guitar, and it can hurt your back after a while playing it on stage, especially mine, this guitar actually plays like really, really well. The only thing is I need a setup on it right now because, well, I'm trying to play a chord and nothing's happening. So I need to set this guitar up at some point, just fix it up, because it is a nice playing guitar. And to be honest, this is a faster playing guitar than I think any guitar that I have here. I mean, it's weird to think that because this is a heavier, bulky guitar, but it really does feel good when you're playing faster solos on it. Whenever I would have a friend over to mess around, and we would like jam over like some kind of guitar track, I would end up using this guitar if I was going to be doing faster metal stuff. So yeah, definitely a good guitar. It sounds great. Honestly, this sounds pretty on par to my Razorback, and it's great. I mean, I don't play it as much as my other guitars when I'm messing around with it alone, but that's only because I don't have it set up right now. Nice guitar. Definitely need to get it set up. It's an 8-string. What can I say? Okay, so fast forward a few months, and now we're at the point where I'm at my first semester at Suffolk County Community College doing IT. So I am switching my major to game development when I go to Full Sail University next year, but I'm still going for my IT degree, and I'm finishing that off before I transfer to that college. So this is my first semester there, and I told myself, you know what, I know I'm going to be stressed because I'm going to be taking a programming class, a math class, another computer class, and at the end of the day, I'm going to need something to calm me down. And although I played guitar at home to calm me down every time that I would be stressed out, I decided, you know what, why not take a guitar class to kind of refresh my memory on reading music, give me some more theory knowledge. So I took a class called Fretboard Harmony, which is kind of like teaching you theory through the guitar, and it was a great class for me. But when I walked into that class, everybody had acoustics. I brought in my PRS, and my teacher kind of told me, it was like, you know, it might be better for you to get an acoustic or bring an acoustic in, just because everybody's playing acoustic. If you're playing on an electric without an amp, I'm not going to hear you assess you. Get an acoustic. So basically, I was going to bring in my steel string acoustic, but it was a really cheap one. It didn't feel that great. I didn't want to change the strings on it because it was cheap as hell. It was not really that great of a guitar. So I told myself, I'm like, you know what? It's time to upgrade to a better acoustic. I ended up selling that one on the Facebook Marketplace for a decent price. Got enough money to get myself a nylon string guitar, and here we are now. This is my nylon string electric acoustic Ibanez. It feels much more like a regular steel string acoustic guitar more than like a classical guitar, but I've always been a big fan of nylon strings ever since I played my cousin's uncle's guitar that was a nylon string, because he majored in classical guitar in college. So I got to mess around with that, really liked it, so, and always wanted one from that day forward. So I finally got my hands on one, and I'm loving it to this day. So basically, I got that guitar, I played in that class for the semester, and then the next semester I did guitar ensemble, and I've been doing guitar ensemble for every other semester besides this one. I'm doing it again next semester, and I'm going to be using this guitar again, because in guitar ensemble we do classical, and considering this is a nylon string guitar, it sounds great. Now here's the thing. If I ever do go and do like a double major in music with game development, or a minor, I can see myself getting a better nylon string guitar. Not that this is bad in any way, this is great feeling, but I would much rather get like a more stereotypical classical guitar that you would hold like this, rather than something that feels more of like an acoustic steel string. So it's definitely what I'm going to do down the line, but right now I'm very happy with this guitar. It feels great, and honestly, whenever I go on vacations and bring a guitar with me, I would always use this one instead of my electric, because it feels great. It really does feel good for fast playing, slow playing, classical guitar, some classic rock stuff. It's a great acoustic nylon string, and I will be sad to let it go once I get a new one, but I am very happy with this guitar. Alright, so we're down to my second to last guitar, technically my last, because I'm going to be talking about a bass directly after this one, but this guitar right here has a pretty cool story for how I got it. I mean, I was at the guitar shop in Sound Beach Music to get my guitar set up. So after I put the guitar behind the desk, whatever one, I don't remember which one I did, after I gave it to the guy to put behind the counter and everything for eventually the guitar tech to work on, I eventually started just like looking around at the basses, because I've for some reason just had an urge to play a few of the basses. And I was messing around with one for a little while. Didn't have my glasses. Don't know why I didn't have my glasses. I just remember not having them. And I was sitting down. And this place that I was in, it was like a multi-music store, so it wasn't just a guitar store. They also like repaired all the instruments for like the schools around the area, so they were like a multi-instrument store. So the guitars they mainly carried were like Ibanez guitars, nothing too top of the line either. There were like some Fenders, but there were more like Squiers, and then like some Ibanez guitars, and a lot of acoustics and basses and all that. And then all of a sudden, you know, something just catches my eye. I don't have my glasses, so I can't tell 100% what it is, but I'm looking at something at a distance. I see it's a V guitar, and you know, that's very rare that you ever see a flying V guitar at that place. So I was kind of curious. I was looking, like, I wasn't looking too much. I was kind of just like looking up every once in a while just to see it, and eventually it clicked. And I was just like, I saw the pattern on the guitar, I saw the shape of the guitar, and I saw the headstock right here. I saw the headstock, and I didn't see the signature, but I saw the headstock, and I saw that it was Dean. I was like, Dean. And I saw like a signature, right? I saw a signature, and immediately it clicked. I was like, that's fucking Dave Mustaine's guitar. So I got really excited. I put the bass down, and I went up to the thing. And the thing was locked into place. You had to ask an associate to take it down for you to test it. Although it wasn't really that expensive, they still had it there because they knew it, like a special guitarist wanted it. This was a guitar that was really just for specific guitarists, not someone who was just getting a plain guitar. So got the guitar down, started messing around with it for a while, and I saw the price tag. It was only $200. But the thing is, like, I didn't have a job at the time, so I didn't want to spend any money, and I was telling the guy that. He's like, I'll bring the price down for you if you want, and I told him, I was like, I'm sorry, I can't spend much money on this thing. I'll have to pass on it. So I left that place, and I went home and got a Guitar Hero controller, actually. I bought a Guitar Hero controller for $20 at a retro game store called Game On, which is in Miller Place, and I got that, went home. I was like, you know what, I'll get a Guitar Hero controller instead of the guitar just so I can hold myself over and maybe just be a little bit happier. But I sat around and was just like thinking of that guitar the whole time, and I told myself, I was like, is it worth it? Is it really worth it? So I decided, yes, it's worth it. I left, I went to the place, and I told them, I was like, you know, it's pretty expensive for my liking. I know it's good for the type of guitar that it is, but honestly, I just don't have much money to spend. And they told me, they're like, I'll bring it down to $150 plus tax if you want. So, ended up being $177. The guitar was pretty beat up, not gonna lie. It's still pretty beat up. It's got scratches, dents, big cracks everywhere, but it's Dave Mustaine's guitar. Megadeth is my favorite metal band, my favorite band in general, actually. And I decided right then and there, you know what, I'm getting this guitar. So I paid with my card right up front. My girlfriend was with me at the time too. I brought her with me, and I had her hold the guitar for dear life in the front seat while I was basically completely like fanboying over the guitar while I was driving. I was like, I got the guitar, you know. I was fucking extremely happy, and I got home, messed around with it, and you know, I love this guitar a lot. And this one feels a bit better than my Razorback in terms of like where I don't have to stretch too much because it's a little bit smaller. I think the body itself is a little bit bigger and the neck is a little bit smaller, but it is a nice feeling guitar, and I will probably play this for the rest of my life. Eventually, I see myself upgrading the pickups because these are like more budget model pickups. This is one of the cheaper Dave Mustaine guitars. Plus, it's a United Abominations model, not one of the bigger ones. So this is more like a budget-friendly Mustaine guitar. But Dave Mustaine's signature guitar is now in my collection, and I have both Dimebag's and Dave's guitar, my two favorite metal bands, and my two favorite guitarists out there. So very happy to have this guitar. Let's get to the last one on this list. Okay, so this is my last guitar on this list that we're going to be talking about. And this was a very special present that I got from my girlfriend Ashley on our 2-year anniversary, so actually a year ago. This is right when the pandemic started, and right before it started, we went to a guitar center where I was just kind of looking around because I was bored. I forgot exactly why I was there. I think this was around the time where I started teaching her drums a little bit, and I went to get a new pair of sticks or something along those lines, but I messed around with some of the guitars, saw this bass there, and I was like, you know what, one of these days I gotta get something more than a 4-string. 6 strings would be cool, and I saw her snap a picture of it. I was like, oh no, she better not be spending money on that thing. So she actually went back there to get that bass. It was out of stock, used, so she went and got me a whole new one. So this is a freaking completely brand new bass. It's still basically in the same exact condition that it was when I got it, but I immediately fell in love with this thing. At the time that I got this bass, I was in the Rush show, because although I was done with the School of Rock at this point, as a student, I was helping out the School of Rock because they didn't have any bass players in the Rush show. So I went and played with the 4-string originally, ended up liking this one so much that I used this for an entire show. So thank you, Ashley, so much for getting me this bass. I still thank her to this day for doing it, even a year later. I'm in love with it. I love how it feels. It doesn't have as much frets as my other one, and it is a little harder to play when you're higher on the neck, but this is a fast playing bass and it sounds great, it plays great. I love it a lot. Anyway guys, that's my entire collection of guitars and basses. Thank you all for watching this video. I am probably going to eventually get a Gibson SG, since that's been my dream guitar of mine ever since childhood. But for now, this is every guitar that I have, and I'm very happy with all of them. I mean, I still play a majority of them to this day, where the only ones I really don't play anymore are my Ibanez guitar and my 4-string bass, since I play my 6-string a lot more nowadays. So, thank you guys for watching this video. I will see you all in the next one.